Hey everybody, welcome back to Conscientious Omnivore. My name is Pal. Today I'm going to be talking about aging and some health benefits of a whole food plant-based diet. I haven't done one of these videos in a while talking about the nutritional aspects of things, so I thought I would do that in honor of kind of the video I just posted about my birthday not too long ago. So yeah, just wanted to talk about some of the health benefits, and specifically with how it relates to aging and cell death and things like that. So really I just want to kind of start off by saying that the fountain of youth is right here. These are blueberries, super high in antioxidants, vitamins, really good source of like all sorts of nutrients and minerals that you need. And these things are really just kind of like the fountain of youth. You eat lots of berries, lots of fruit, stay away from the harmful effects of the animal products, and in a nutshell, that's what this video is going to be about. But yeah, I mean, they're tasty too, so can't lose. I'm not sure what just happened, but I feel almost instantly younger. Must be the blueberries. Okay, so let's get into it. I want to show you guys some cool stuff. This all comes from Dr. Greger of nutritionfacts.org. I highly recommend his book in case you haven't read it yet. It's called How Not to Die, and quite a bit of the book talks about basically lessening your chances of dying from preventable diseases, especially chronic diseases that tend to take the most number of people's lives in the Western world. So let's just jump into it. All right, so the first thing I want to do is talk about telomeres. This is Dr. Greger's book, How Not to Die. I definitely recommend everybody read this if you haven't already read it. And if you just want a quick couple of videos, he's got a lot of this information in video format as well, so you can check that out. I'm just going to read a couple paragraphs straight from the book because I think it's just a lot more concise than the videos tend to be, and I think it's like really, really important and really kind of covers a lot of the topic of what I wanted to say today. So let's just start reading from here. Let's talk a little bit more about aging. In each of your cells you have 46 strands of DNA coiled into chromosomes. At the tip of each chromosome there's a tiny cap called a telomere, which keeps your DNA from unraveling and fraying. Think of it as the plastic tips on the end of your shoelaces. Every time your cells divide, however, a bit of that cap is lost, and when the telomere is completely gone, your cells can die. Though this is an oversimplification, telomeres have been thought of as your life fuse. They can start shortening as soon as you're born, and when they're gone, you're gone. In fact, forensic scientists can take DNA from a blood stain and roughly estimate how old the person was based on how long their telomeres are. So then he goes on to say about, can you actually, shorten the time that it takes for them to shorten? So you either basically just like stretch it out so they're not shortening as quickly. And he says, smoking cigarettes is associated with triple the rate of telomere loss. So the first step is simple: stop smoking. But the food you eat every day may also have an impact on how fast you lose your telomeres. The consumption of fruits, vegetables, and other antioxidant-rich foods has been associated with longer protective telomeres. In contrast, the consumption of refined grains, soda, meat, including fish, and dairy has been linked to shortened telomeres. What if you ate a diet composed of whole plant foods and stayed away from the processed foods and animal foods? Could cellular aging be slowed? Then he talks about a tree that was found, which they've named Methuselah. It's a bristlecone pine growing in the White Mountains of California, and it was already 4,800 years old when they found it, I guess, and they started researching, the cells of that tree just to find out how it's possible that it has lived that long. And then they found that there was this thing they called telomerase, and they found that same enzyme was found in the human cells, and that's how they kind of started doing this research into the age-defying properties, if you can basically extend the life of the telomeres. So it says here, seeking answers, the pioneering researcher Dr. Dean Ornish teamed up with Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn, who was awarded the 2009 Nobel Prize in Medicine for her discovery of telomerase. In a study funded in part by the U.S. Department of Defense, they found that 3 months of whole food, plant-based nutrition and other healthy changes could significantly boost telomerase activity, the only intervention ever shown to do so. A study was published in one of the most prestigious medical journals in the world. The accompanying editorial concluded that this landmark study should encourage people to adopt a healthy lifestyle in order to avoid or combat cancer and age-related diseases. And then he goes on to ask, so were Dr. Ornish and Dr. Blackburn able to successfully slow down aging with a healthy diet and lifestyle? A 5-year follow-up study was recently published in which the lengths of the study subjects' telomeres were measured. In the control group, the group of participants who did not change their lifestyles, their telomeres predictably shrank with age, so that's expected. But for the healthy living group, not only did their telomeres shrink less, they grew. 5 years later, their telomeres were even longer on average than when they started, suggesting a healthy lifestyle can boost telomerase enzyme activity and reverse cellular aging. Subsequent research has shown that the telomere lengthening wasn't just because the healthy living group was exercising more or losing weight. Weight loss through calorie restriction and even more vigorous exercise program failed to improve telomere length. So it appears that the active ingredient is the quality, not the quantity of the food eaten. As long as people were eating the same, it didn't appear to matter how small their portions were, how much weight they lost, or even how hard they exercised. After a year, they saw no benefit. In contrast, individuals on the plant-based diet exercised only half as much, enjoyed the same amount of weight loss after just 3 months, and achieved significant telomere protection. Total win all around. In other words, it wasn't the weight loss and it wasn't the exercise that reversed cell aging, it was the food. So, again, this is just kind of the scientific, kind of explanation of what we kind of intuitively see and we feel when we adopt a whole food plant-based diet. You feel better. Your recovery times get better. I think I've seen so many examples of people much later in life even than myself adopting a whole food plant-based diet and seeing remarkable success. You have incredible athletes all over the map in all kinds of sports who have extended their basically professional careers by adopting a whole food plant-based diet. So there's the science to back it up, there's the anecdotal evidence to back it up, and I would just say to everybody, try it yourself and see how you feel, because I'm convinced it will work for you as well. So that's the telomere. I wanted to talk about another topic called methionine. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It might be methionine. I never remember. But anyway, methionine is a amino acid. It's found in proteins. And basically it is one of the amino acids that animal products, animal sources of protein tend to be higher in methionine than plant sources. And this is actually one of those things that has previously led to the protein myth, that the incomplete protein myth, where people I guess for the longest time, and some people still to this day think incorrectly, that plant sources of protein are incomplete because they have different ratios of amino acids than animal sources. In animal sources, the ratio of the amino acids in the protein tend to be roughly like 1-to-1, so they're all equal. Whereas in plant sources, you have certain amino acids that might be higher in one particular thing, like in, say, beans. This amino acid might be higher, and in rice it might be lower. But then when you look at those amino acids in the other food, some other amino acid, I should say, they might be the complete opposite, and they used to think that if you just combine them, you would still be getting the 1-to-1 ratio, and that would be a complete protein. Now, this has already been demonstrated to be a myth. I've talked about this in other videos. You can see a bunch of stuff from Dr. Greger where he explains this, and you can just read about it in many different sources. So you don't need to worry about combining foods to get complementary proteins. That's just not something you need to actually worry about. But a lot of people don't know that. So anyway, but methionine is actually something that you don't want a lot of, and the reason why is that it actually is considered a pro-oxidant. So I'm going to link this as well, but basically here they say that there is a free radical theory of aging, which is a concept that aging can be thought of as an oxidation of our bodies, just like rust is the oxidation of metal. So they're saying that methionine is thought to have a pro-oxidant effect, and the thinking is that the lower methionine intake leads to less free radical production, the so-called reactive oxygen species. So if you think about high antioxidant foods, I think there's this really great analogy that Dr. Greger uses. If you like slice open a mango and you just let it sit out in the air, you come back half an hour later, it still looks exactly the same. It doesn't really brown quickly. You can probably come back even a few hours later and it still looks fine. If you cut into an apple, it starts browning much, much quicker than, say, the mango. The mango has more antioxidants than the apple. A banana has very low levels of antioxidants because when you cut it, 10 minutes later, it's already brown. Basically, if it's exposed to the oxygen, so the air, then it just starts browning. The banana peel is probably very high in antioxidants, but you don't eat it because it's not part of the normal part of the fruit that you eat. But anyway, things that are like berries, pomegranates, things like that, they retain these like antioxidants because when you just look at them, they don't really change their color. Anyway, so they're saying that basically there's this idea that it's the more you restrict the methionine intake, the less your cell damage you're causing to your DNA. So they're basically saying that there are 3 ways to lower the methionine intake. Calorie restriction, which just means eating less. So they're saying like maybe eating every other day. That has been done in many animal studies where they've taken like mice and they've done calorie restriction and they could live longer and all this kind of stuff. But as a person, obviously, you would probably be pretty miserable if you only ate every other day, or if you just were hungry all the time and probably be skinny and not have much energy and all this kind of stuff. So that's obviously not something that most people would want to do. Then it says, it says because methionine is found concentrated in certain proteins, you could practice protein restriction across the board, eating a relatively protein deficient diet. Or the third option is to eat enough food, eat enough protein, but just eat plant proteins because these are relatively low in methionine. So, this is where he basically says, like, yeah, walking around, if you're calorie restricted, you just feel miserable because you're starving, you don't have the energy like you want to. That's not a good choice. Restricting protein is, kind of maybe a little bit easier, but again, why not just eat the plant proteins, which already have the lower methionine? So it says, it says could also be performed emphasizing low methionine, high quality vegetable sources of protein. Among foods containing plant proteins, legumes are especially rich in essential amino acids, offering excellent substitutes for proteins of animal origin. And then, they talk about soybeans also being an excellent source and of protein, but also being low methionine intake. And let's see what else they want to mention from this. Yeah, they're basically saying that the reason plant-based diets are so protective is not known. Yes, the vegetables contain thousands of phytochemicals, but separately investigating their possible protective roles would be an impossible task. The idea that the protective effect is not due to any of the individual plant food components, but to a synergistic combined effect is gaining acceptance. So they're basically saying, like, yeah, they don't know exactly what little component might be causing the benefit, but they are starting to realize that maybe it's the combination of all these little things that matter. So it says, based on the relationship of excess dietary methionine with toxicity of major vital organs, it is likely the mechanism or action through increase in free radical generation. The possibility exists that the protective effects of plant-based diets can be due at least in part to their lower methionine content. And, it's just an easy thing that you can do to just increase the amount of plants that you are eating, plant sources of protein. So, last thing that I want to cover, because I think this video is getting long enough, is the antioxidant content of food. There's a wonderful study that Dr. Greger has covered before, where they studied, they studied over 3,000 foods. They made a 138-page chart which they tracked antioxidant content of different foods. And there's like really funny things in here that he says. He says they don't just include something like gooseberries or Indian gooseberries in a can, but even the antioxidant power of the syrup in the can of Indian gooseberries. So I mean, these were incredibly thorough. Again, it comes out to 138 pages. You can download the PDF and check all of your foods and see which ones have the higher antioxidant content. And, you know, here it is, the main point here. He says, the first thing they did, table 1, was to split everything into plant foods versus animal foods. Here's the plant foods, here's animal foods. On average, plant foods have 64 times more antioxidants than meat, fish, eggs, and dairy. This alone represents a powerful argument to eat a plant-based diet. Again, as I said before, the more antioxidant-rich food you are taking in, the more you can potentially stop or slow down the cell damage that's going to be destroying your DNA and ultimately leading to aging and cancer and all this kind of stuff. This says every time you eat something in this column, you miss out on an opportunity to eat something in the other column, so the plant column. Animal foods max out at 100. Plant foods go up to 289,000. This was the antioxidant unit of measure. I don't know what the actual measurement is. It's in the charts. You can check it for yourself. But that is just an insane figure. It's like just several orders of magnitude more rich in antioxidants. And here's the conclusion. Antioxidant-rich foods originate from the plant kingdom, while meat, fish, and other foods from the animal kingdom are low in antioxidants. Diets comprised mainly of animal foods are thus low in antioxidant content, while diets based mainly on a variety of plant-based foods are antioxidant-rich due to the thousands of bioactive antioxidant phytochemicals found in plants. So that's it. I just want to end here. Like I said in the beginning, in a nutshell, the fountain of youth is found in the berries, found in the fruits, found in the wonderful antioxidant-rich plant, whole food plants. Stay away from the animal products. They are pro-inflammatory, pro-oxidative. They have too much methionine. They will destroy your telomeres, wreak havoc on your DNA, and you can just simply avoid those and eat tasty plant alternatives. And that is the video. So I hope you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't signed up before. I'm really psyched. There's tons of new people. I'm really glad to see you on the channel. I've tried to be, as engaging as possible in the comments. It's great to hear from people all the time. So, hope to see you guys in the next one. Hope you enjoyed it. See you. Bye.